here's the news on NTA International. I am Mina Daniels. First, the headlines. Nigeria to host maiden meeting of African Bloc of National Committees of International Press Institute, IPI. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, raid Lagos nightclub during drug party, arrest more than 100 suspects. Plus counting of ballots in progress after voting ends in Cote d'Ivoire. The federal government has evolved fundamental reforms that are fast-tracking Nigeria's ambitions to be a leading global economy. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated this at the Renewed Hope Global Dialogue in London. From Pioneer reports.
The event, with the theme Strengthening Global Partnerships for Economic Renewal and National Rebranding under the Renewed Hope administration, brought together leaders, investors and experts to discuss collaborative pathways for Nigeria's economic growth and global reputation, aligning with President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. The federal government's intention is focused on economic reform, attracting investment and improving national perception. Information and National Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris highlighted the impact of President Tinubu's administration on Nigerians. Idris said the federal government has evolved the ease of doing business to attract foreign direct investment, as well as making Nigeria the investors' hub on the continent of Africa.
We have a unified exchange rate, as I said. We have a national student loans program. Before now, it was difficult for some Nigerian students to access tertiary education in the country. But about a year and a half ago, President Bola Tinubu instituted what is called the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, which gave access today to over 600,000 young men and women in Nigeria to access education. Now, the president is not just paying for their tuition, he is also paying for their upkeep in school. These over 600,000 students would have been out of school if President Bola Tinubu didn't take this decision. This to date has cost the nation over 120 billion naira. We have a new national minimum wage in place, as you all know. We have a national consumer credit program. We have the presidential CNG initiative. We have two new tax regimes that will come into effect on the 1st of January 2026. Also, the president set up what is called the Ministry of Livestock Development. It's a potential 30 trillion naira economy that has been left untapped. And so the president created that ministry for the first time. It used to be a unit under the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development.
With the country out of the grey list, the world is seeing Nigeria as an emerging economy and investors' destination. In Abuja, Frama Panyi, NTA News.
Nigeria has accepted to host the maiden meeting of the African Bloc of the National Committees of the International Press Institute, IPI. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, gave the indication during a meeting at the weekend in Vienna, Austria, with the chairman of the IPI Executive Board, Mr. Martin Gregory, the IPI Executive Director, Mr. Scott Griffin, and IPI Executive Board member representing Nigeria in Africa, Mr. Rahim Adedoyin. A statement by the Minister's Special Assistant on Media said the IPI Board had on Thursday approved the creation of regional blocks of national committees as a means of dealing with specific regional interests within the global IPI community. Idris recalled that Nigeria successfully hosted the IPI World Congress and General Assembly in Abuja in 2018, adding that the country is ready for another world-class hosting. Although no date has been fixed for the meeting, Mr. Griffin disclosed that the IPI Secretariat in Vienna will work out the details with Mr. Adedoyin and the IPI Nigeria National Committee. Nigeria's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list reflects its dedication to combating corruption and illicit financial activities. Now, what does this achievement mean for Nigeria, and what is the significance of the grey list? Musa Babo Aliyu explores these questions in this report.
The grey list, officially termed jurisdictions under increased monitoring, is maintained by the Financial Action Task Force (FATF), an intergovernmental body that establishes global standards to combat money laundering, terrorist financing, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Countries are added to the grey list when identified as having weaknesses in their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing frameworks. Nigeria was placed on the FATF grey list on February 24, 2023, following a mutual evaluation and revealed deficiencies in areas such as transparency of beneficial ownership, oversight of non-financial sectors like real estate and legal services, and the effectiveness of law enforcement in prosecuting money laundering and terrorist financing cases. The current administration committed to an action plan to address these issues, leading to Nigeria's removal from the list on October 24, 2025.
A record of 4 countries have been removed from the grey list. The countries are Burkina Faso, Mozambique, Nigeria, and South Africa. Some of the actions taken by these jurisdictions include: Nigeria now has a stronger interagency coordination. Mozambique has improved financial intelligence sharing. And Burkina Faso has enhanced financial oversight of financial institutions and gatekeepers.
The Global Watchdog Agency noted that Nigeria demonstrated significant progress through reforms, including enhanced interagency coordination and improved financial intelligence sharing.
These transformations will help better protect communities that are harmed by crime and corruption, those living in fear of terrorist attacks, families with life savings drained by fraud and cybercrime.
The country's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has recovered more than 566.3 billion naira illicit funds and more than 1,500 properties acquired through fraudulent means in the last 2 years in the country. Nigeria's exit from the grey list after approximately 2 years and 8 months is expected to boost investor confidence and facilitate smoother cross-border financial transactions. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And joining us now live in the studio is Mohammed Ahmed of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit to advance the issues of this heartwarming news. Thank you for joining us on the news tonight, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, Financial Action Task Force, FATF, in February 2023 placed Nigeria on its grey list, underscoring deep concerns about Nigeria's anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing framework. What prompted this development?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be with you here today. I think your report did an excellent job of explaining what the Financial Action Task Force is. And I think one of the important things that is important for us to get across is that all countries across the globe are judged against the standards set by the FATF. So it doesn't matter whether you are the largest economy in the world or you're a tiny microeconomy that has literally one bank and a few thousand citizens. Essentially, it's about making sure the entire globe is protected from the threat of illicit finance, from the threat of money laundering, and the threat of terrorism financing. So in 2019, Nigeria was assessed against these standards, and we were found to be deficient. We were found that our laws did not fully comply with the standards of the FATF, and also not just the laws themselves, but our application of the laws, the work being done by our law enforcement, regulatory and supervisory authorities were found to have significant gaps. The report that came out after that evaluation identified around 84 deficiencies across the entirety of Nigeria's AML, CFT, anti-money laundering, and counterterrorism financing framework. So we worked very closely with the FATF over the period of 1 year to look at what we could do to strengthen and address these measures. After that 1 year period, in November 2022, the FATF conceded that we had addressed a lot of those deficiencies, but they identified 19 strategic deficiencies that were left unaddressed. And it was on the basis of those 19 deficiencies that Nigeria was added to the grey list itself in February 2023. And we committed, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation committed in writing to Nigeria, for Nigeria to address those deficiencies and to address them by the deadline of May 2025, which we are very pleased to announce that we did meet that deadline and we addressed all those items within that time frame.
All right, Nigeria and a few other countries have exited the global dirty money list, popularly known as the grey list. What are the implications of this on our economy?
So I think it's important to take it from the perspective of what damage being on the grey list does to the economy. So one of the key things is, if you take, for instance, international investors, when they're looking to place money into an economy, they do conduct a risk assessment. And as part of that risk assessment, they look at various sources of information. If they put their money into this country, will it be safe? Will they get a return? And will they get their money back? And the grey list is one of the key indicators that they use to judge the level of risk in a country. So once, if you take, for example, whether you are a businessman in Kano or an industrialist in Nnewi, you are going internationally to seek funding to invest in your business, to invest in your factory. It's going to be more difficult for you to have access to this financing, which means that you can't generate as many jobs as you would like. But more, I think, relevant to a lot of our citizens is, once you travel internationally, or once you're trying to do business internationally, or even if you're trying to buy things from international e-commerce sites, you're going to use a Nigerian card, you're going to use a Nigerian form of payment. And as soon as you use that Nigerian form of payment, there's automatically a trigger that is applied which says this transaction is coming from Nigeria. It may potentially be linked to illicit activities, whether it's fraud, corruption, or drug trafficking. And a lot of institutions and a lot of financial institutions internationally will choose not to honor our forms of payment, which is why you hear a lot of stories of Nigerians going abroad with their Nigerian issued cards, and they try to do transactions and it simply doesn't work. And this is part of the reason for this. But I think more importantly, it's the reputational damage that we suffer as a country. So being on the grey list, it signals to the international community that as a country, we're not taking the threats of serious crime seriously. We're not working hard to address whether it's corruption, drug trafficking, fraud, or terrorism financing. So by being off this grey list, we send a very strong signal to the international community that we're taking all the necessary steps that we need to do to counter these financial crimes, that we're putting in place the measures to protect our citizens, but also the global community from those threats. So I think we expect to see much easier transactions going forward. We expect to see it much easier for our businessmen to attract investment into the country, whether it's the financial sector, the capital market. And we also expect to see an easing in correspondent banking relationships, which is why I think you've seen a lot of celebration coming out of the financial industry, considering that they will be able to more easily access international financial institutions.
All right, Mohammed, just before I let you go, how do we build on this achievement, especially from the NFIU perspective?
So I think we need to reflect that this is not just an NFIU success, and it's not just the work of the NFIU. This required a whole of government approach, but also a whole of society approach. So by being off the grey list, it's not saying that we have addressed everything that we need to address. What it says is that you have demonstrated you have the political will to continue these reforms, and that you're on a positive trajectory going forward. So it is very important, as you said, that we need to sustain these efforts going forward. And this is why we were delighted when the FATF team came to Abuja in August 2025. They were hosted by His Excellency, the Vice President, on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And during his speech, he re-emphasized the centrality of the reforms to our national framework to the overall economic development agenda. And this is a message that was reiterated just last week in Paris by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, the Honorable Minister of Finance, and the Honorable Minister of Interior, who addressed the FATF plenary and pledged to continue to support these ongoing reforms. From the perspective of the FIU, what we intend to do is we intend to not rest on our oars. So going forward, we are going to continuously evaluate the measures that are in place in Nigeria. We're instituting a process of annual assessments so that even before our next assessment, our next international assessment, which is due in 2027, we understand where the biggest gaps are, and we can proactively fix these gaps before the international community comes in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Ahmed of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, thank you for your inputs on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's now take a short break. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back. Counting of votes begin on Sunday in Ivory Coast for a new president, with incumbent Alassane Ouattara expected to win a fourth term against a divided opposition, further hobbled by the bearing of two leading candidates. One senior opposition figure has already dismissed the vote as electoral robbery, and turnout was low in parts of the country's south and west, where the opposition is popular. Ouattara, 83, has wielded power in the world's top cocoa producer since 2011, when the country began reasserting itself as a West African economic powerhouse. The United States National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Melissa has developed into a Category 4 hurricane as maximum sustained winds have increased to 140 miles per hour. The hurricane was located about 280 miles from Guantanamo in Cuba, the NHC said. Reports say catastrophic flash flooding and landslides are probable across portions of southern Hispaniola and Jamaica. The Miami-based forecaster states that Melissa is expected to be a major hurricane when it makes a landfall in Jamaica Monday night or Tuesday morning, as well as southeastern Cuba late Tuesday. And Kosovo's parliament could not elect Albin Kurti as prime minister on Sunday, increasing the likelihood that a snap election to break the political deadlock following an inconclusive parliamentary vote in February. Kurti, the leader of the Vetevendozi party, who is currently serving as prime minister in a caretaker capacity, received only 56 votes in the 120-seat parliament, 5 short of the majority required to form a government. Opposition parties, the Democratic Party of Kosovo, the Democratic League of Kosovo, and the Alliance for the Future of Kosovo, voted against Kurti's candidacy. Uncertainty surrounds the president's next move, with the second and third placed parties insisting that a new election is the way forward. Kurti faces opposition resistance due to his management of Kosovo's Western relations and the handling of the Serb minority in the country's north, leading to a governance stalemate. Thailand and Cambodia have signed a truce ending a lingering border crisis between the two Asian nations. President Donald Trump of the United States, who broke out the truce, also witnessed the signing ceremony in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Framapai has the details.
This marks the first time the two Asian nations have come together under one roof, despite sharing border areas. They have been at loggerheads, resulting in deaths and displacement of thousands of their citizens. However, President Donald Trump's initiative led the two countries to sheathe their swords. The new joint declaration, sealed with a handshake between the Thai and Cambodian leaders, commits both nations to peace and security. It includes plans for demining the border, withdrawing heavy weapons, and allowing ASEAN ceasefire monitors access to the region. Thailand also pledged to release 18 Cambodian soldiers held captive for 3 months.
ASEAN-United States relations have deepened into a comprehensive strategic partnership. The vibrant, tremendous economies of the United States and Southeast Asia have the potential to create a golden age for all our nations.
The White House swiftly followed the signing with announcement of trade deals with both nations. A non-binding memorandum with Thailand focuses on cooperation in trading rare earth minerals, critical for tech industries and currently dominated by China.
Today, the Prime Minister and I signed a major trade deal between the United States and Malaysia, and together we took part in the signing of a historic peace agreement ending the hostilities between Cambodia and Thailand. We're calling it the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords.
Frama Pani, NTA News.
The remarkable model of the Nigerian Technical Aid Corps, NTAC, collaboration with African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries through expert deployment has been described as a commitment to the ideals of the Sustainable Development Goals. came at the General Assembly of the Total Support for Sustainable Development, which just ended in Spain, where NTAC Director General Dr. Buba Yusuf Yakub said it is a testament to the new image of Nigeria and international bodies under President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, describing it as a motivation to do more.
Presenting for the past 38 years technical to Africa, Caribbean, and the Pacific countries, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
The sixth Governor Committee, set up by President Bola Tinubu to assess the conditions of the nation's security training institutions across the country, says it is hitting the ground running immediately to achieve the task within the time frame given at this month's meeting of the National Economic Council, NEC. A member of the committee, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, is a guest on NTA's weekly program on the activities around the presidency called Executive Recap. He says the committee, led by Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State, values the importance and urgency attached to the assignment towards enhancing the welfare and condition of service of the Nigerian police force.
From this institution, a lot of them are dilapidated. If you look at the one in Ikeja, for instance, you can see the standard of that. Is it up to the standard of what a training institution, that will train the kind of officers that we are looking for will be? So I think the first thing is for us to know what does it take to be, a standard quality training institute. And then now to look at what we have now, and now to recommend what it will take, to do that. I think it's a very simple, straightforward, and I'm happy that the secretary of the committee is actually the immediate past IG.
Governor Abdullahi Sule also comments on the recent changes President Tinubu made to the leadership of the Nigerian Armed Forces.
If you look at most of the other officers who have been there, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, and the rest of that, they are all people also who are hands-on. So I think, I don't see anything wrong with it, and I don't see anything wrong with the other officers. General Musa has done well, he did his best. We always commended him. He has attended our meetings of the Nigerian Governors Forum twice. We interacted. He shared with us. I attended another meeting, of the Northern Institute with him, twice. And so I think all of them seem to be people who have contributed, and it's time to move on. You cannot continue to keep certain people in one position for too long. That's the way I see it.
For more on the interview, stay tuned to the NTA as Executive Recap airs on the network service at 10:30 tonight. The federal government deliberate policy that has repositioned the non-oil sector for positive growth on the economy has continued to receive commendation. The latest is coming from the former Executive Vice Chairman, National Agency for Science, Engineering, Infrastructure, NASENI, Professor Mohammed Sani Haruna, who said with the contribution of the non-oil sector, achieving a $1 trillion economy target set by the present administration is possible. Victoria Odito's report is here presented.
Driving the non-oil sector revenue initiative of the federal government is the solid minerals, which industry record shows increased investment in the last 2 years. Of particular interest is lithium, which has high global market and has continued to attract foreign investors ready to mine the resources. The development which stakeholders say Nigeria must leverage opportunities created by the increased demand for the product. Speaking at the 2025 Nigerian Society of Engineers Lafia Branch Week, the former Executive Vice Chairman, National Agency for Science, Engineering, Infrastructure, NASENI, Professor Mohammed Sani Haruna, calls for sustained regulations that will catalyze investment in the solid mineral sector.
Direction of renewable energy that the world is going through. Now, lithium is used in the manufacture of many things, not only batteries. A lot of other products, in ceramics, in other industry, in construction works, in medicine, and even in the development of solar cells. For the state to have commenced processing of this, instead of exporting only raw material, is not a small economic transformation, because doing that will lead to the establishment of many other factories.
With a theme unlocking the potential of lithium battery processing in Nasarawa State, a catalyst for economic growth and wealth creation, stakeholders advocate that all solid minerals exploited be processed in the country in order to grow the economy.
President Bola Tinubu congratulates Oloye Lekan Alabi, a veteran journalist and public relations guru, on his 75th birthday on October 27, 2025. Oloye Alabi is a Abese Olubado of Ibadan land and cultural ambassador of the National Museum and Monuments in Ile-Ife, Osun State. President Tinubu acknowledges Oloye Alabi's distinguished journalism and public relations career and commends his remarkable achievements in both fields. Oloye Alabi began his journalism career at the defunct Sketch newspaper. He later moved over to the Western Nigeria Broadcasting Corporation, which later became the Nigerian Television Authority, Ibadan. He subsequently joined